In today's day and age, we've largely lost the values and godly culture which those who came before us abided by. This heritage is what gave them the strength and the backbone to persevere in spite of overwhelming persecution, and therefore helped them to reach a high level of success. It's this godly heritage that makes us great. And it's in this godly heritage that Black Americans and all Americans should derive their pride. Black America, here is your heritage.
Hello everyone, my name is Stefano Joseph. Welcome to our Black History series. To start this Black History series, I will first be answering a few critical questions about American Black history and how we as Christians should interpret it in relation to our present time. But before I start all of this, I would first like to share with you God's purpose for the studying of history. I want to share the godly motivation for the studying of history according to the Bible. So in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, it says, "In the beginning." So this signifies that the Bible is God's history book. It's His story, right? So, if you've ever read a book, every book has a beginning and has an end. So, we see here that in Genesis chapter 1, this is the beginning of God's story. And also in Revelation, we see that, in the book of Revelation, we see that this is the end of God's story. In the book of Revelation, we see that God ends this story, His story, and starts a new one. In Revelation chapter 21, verse 5, Jesus, who is the author, says, "Behold, I make all things new." Revelation also says that the former things will pass away. Furthermore, in the book of Revelation, it says that God is Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. He knows the end from the beginning because He is the one authoring history. In fact, this is what prophecy is really all about. It's God authoring, or in many cases, altering history. In the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 11, it says, "He hath made everything beautiful in His time. Also, He hath set the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end." This shows further proof that it is God who is authoring history, and He's given us a desire to study history. It says that He hath set the world in their heart. So God has put the desire in our hearts to find out, to discover what He's doing in history. Although we'll never fully comprehend and understand and find out what God is doing in its entirety, but He's given us a desire to do so, like to search and seek what He's doing in history. So since the Bible is God's history book, then all our history books should follow and have their foundation of understanding history from the Bible, which contains God's perspective. This is often called a biblical worldview. In Genesis chapter 4 verse 29, Lamech, Noah's father, said about Noah when he was conceived, "This one will comfort us concerning our work and the toil of our hands, because of the ground the Lord has cursed." This shows that from Seth, Adam and Eve's third child, all the way down to Lamech, the account of the garden and the iniquity which transpired was passed on from generation to generation. Additionally, in Deuteronomy chapter 19 verse 14, it says, "You shall not remove your neighbor's landmark." And here, a landmark is referring to a physical, tangible symbol which commemorates a past event or history, which the men of old have set in your inheritance, which you will inherit in the land that the Lord your God is giving you to possess. Lastly, in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 14 through 15, it also says, "I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing taken from it. God does it that men should fear before him. That which is has already been, and what is to be has already been, and God requires an account of what is past. So here in this passage, it's saying that God requires us to have an account of what is past. So God requires us to recount and to teach and to study history. As a summary, according to these passages, God's purpose for the study and teaching of history is to inform current generations about past events so we can learn the faithfulness of God, to learn his goodness and his mighty works in past generations, and also to know his will. Now, I believe the main purpose for the studying of American history and Black history in particular is to recognize and to magnify God's hand and God's influence on America, and particularly in the Black community in America. And I also believe that this series will help us to recognize who we truly are as a nation, which is, as John Winthrop, a Puritan leader in the early history of America, he said that America was to be a city set upon a hill, a city upon a hill, so to be a shining example of godliness and goodness to all nations. So this means that America is a nation to welcome all the nations of the world and to propagate the gospel and to send out the word of God and to bring men to salvation, to belief in Jesus Christ, and also to be one nation under God.